They're actually sending her here? The draconian aide's voice cut through the chamber like a blade dipped in acid. Another answered, smirking. Oh, it's real. Alien Emperor finally found a way to make ugliness useful. He's gifting his ugly daughter to the humans. A ripple of cruel laughter followed, sharp, metallic, echoing through the obsidian hall of the Imperial dock. He calls it a gesture of diplomacy, one added, fangs flashing under the cold light. But everyone knows it's a joke. The humans beg for alliance. The Emperor sends them garbage wrapped in royal silk. Garbage with scars, said the first aide. I saw her once at court. Burnt scales, blunt teeth, posture like a miner. If that thing carries royal blood, I'll eat my crest. Their voices lowered as the doors at the end of the hall opened. Silence spread like smoke. Princess Sarai Vorthal stepped inside. Her cloak trailed behind her, black silk trimmed in dull silver. Every motion was measured, controlled not by grace but by willpower. Scars shimmered faintly along her neck, where fire once kissed her as a child. The aides lowered their gazes but not their contempt. One whispered, she should be grateful. Among humans, deformity is fashion. Sarai heard it. She always heard it. The translator embedded in her throat made sure every insult was perfectly clear. She didn't speak. There was no point. The Emperor's command had already been broadcast across the Empire. Send her to Titan. Let her live among the primitives. The message's subtext was louder than any order. You are the punchline now. Hours later, her transport ship descended through the methane clouds of Titan, Saturn's largest moon. The storm outside painted the sky in shades of rust and amber. Beneath it, the human colony of New Karth flickered with industrial light, domes glimmering like tired lungs in the haze. Inside the cockpit, Sarai watched the landing sequence through the viewport. The pilot, a half-bred draconian mercenary, muttered under his breath, "Welcome to exile, princess." She didn't correct him. It wasn't exile. It was execution without blood. When the ship touched down, a small, welcoming party waited on the landing pad. Human officials in worn pressure suits, their faces drawn tight from sleeplessness. At the front stood Governor Keene, wringing his hands like a man facing an awkward duty. Behind him stood a single mechanic, his coveralls stained with grease, shoulders broad, eyes sharp beneath fatigue. His name tag read A. Wade. The draconian escort opened the hatch with deliberate ceremony. Presenting her radiance, Princess Sarai Vorthal, he announced, his tone dripping mockery. Eighth daughter of the Emperor, patron of, he smirked, imperfections. Laughter rippled among the alien crew before they turned and ascended back into the shuttle. The ramp sealed shut behind them. Their laughter echoed long after. The engines roared away, leaving Sarai alone under Titan's amber sky. Governor Keene stepped forward, smiling too brightly. Your Highness, welcome to New Karth. We're honored. No, she said. Her translator rendered her voice low and melodic, almost human. You are obligated. Let's not pretend, Keene faltered. Of course. Well, your quarters are ready. Mr. Wade will escort you. The mechanic blinked. Me? You're the only one whose workshop meets atmospheric standards, Keene whispered, already retreating. Arlen Wade wiped his hands on a rag and gestured toward the passageway. This way, Your Highness. Watch your step. Gravity's twitchy near the south corridor. Sarai followed, her footsteps ringing softly against metal flooring. The air smelled faintly of oil, iron, and recycled oxygen. You are the engineer? She asked. Mechanic, he corrected. Engineer means I get paid to break things before fixing them. She tilted her head. And you maintain this entire facility alone? With a small team, he said, mostly machines held together by faith and duct tape. They entered a narrow maintenance lift. Arlen keyed in a code, and the cage rattled upward. Titan's amber light filtered through the grated walls. The Emperor really sent you here? He asked finally. To a mining colony? He wanted to send a message, Sarai replied quietly. I am the message. When the lift stopped, they stepped into Arlen's workshop, a cavern of pipes, wires, and softly humming generators. Heat shimmered off the machinery. On a nearby workbench sat a child's drawing, 3 stick figures, one with big goggles, one small, one holding a wrench. My daughter, Arlen said, catching her glance. Name's Nia. She's 10. As if on cue, a small voice called from above. Dad? Sarai looked up. A young girl leaned over the railing from the loft. Her hair floated under the weak ventilation, eyes wide with curiosity. Is that the alien? Nia, Arlen said. This is Princess Sarai. The girl climbed down the ladder, unafraid. Hi, Princess. Do you drink tea? Sarai hesitated. Sometimes. Good. Dad makes terrible tea. You'll love it. For the first time in years, Sarai almost laughed. Almost. Then I looked forward to disappointment. That night after Nia had gone to bed, the colony lights dimmed to a soft gold. Arlen poured 2 mugs of coffee and handed one to her. We don't get many visitors from royal families, he said. You must miss whatever your world was. She stared out the window at Titan's storm horizon. Draconia Prime is a world of glass. Every surface polished, every face perfect. I was born wrong. My father decided the universe should share in his shame. Arlen sipped his drink. We've all got scars, Princess. Yours just shine louder. She turned to him then, really looked at him. His face was rough from work, his hands cracked from coolant burns, but his eyes were calm, steady, not disgusted, not afraid. Do you always speak this freely to exiles? Only the ones who look like they could break me in half, he said. Her crest flickered, a sign of amusement among her kind. You're either brave or foolish. Occupational hazard. The alarm interrupted them, sharp, metallic, echoing from the lower decks. Arlen set down his cup. Oxygen variance. Great. This place never sleeps. He grabbed his toolkit. You should stay here. It's just a valve malfunction. Sarai rose. I will assist. It's not safe. I was sent here to learn humility, not helplessness. They descended into the service tunnels. Frost crept along the walls. The pipes groaned under pressure, mist leaking from a ruptured joint. Arlen scanned the gauges. Pressure's holding, but readings are weird. Could be a sensor glitch. Sarai crouched beside him, her scales catching the flicker of warning lights. Your coolant feed is inverted. He frowned. What? She pointed with delicate precision. The polarity of your flow line. You're bleeding pressure into the scrubber loop. It will collapse in 2 hours. He checked the readings and froze. She was right. How did you? Draconian reactors use the same principle. I studied structural harmonics. Her voice grew quieter. Before I became ornamental failure. They worked in silence, rerouting the feed until the valves settled into a steady hum. The system normalized, the colony's heartbeat returning. Arlen straightened. You just saved everyone in this dome. Sarai looked at the valve. A broken thing repaired another. Poetic. He chuckled. Maybe ugly things are just honest ones. They show their damage. Then you must be very honest, mechanic. For a heartbeat, neither looked away. The hiss of pressure faded, leaving only their breath in the distant thrum of engines. When they returned, Nia was asleep on the couch, hands still holding her drawing. Arlen covered her with a blanket. Sarai watched quietly. She dreams easily, she said. Yeah. Hasn't learned yet that the world likes to laugh at things that dream. Sarai's gaze lingered on the child's face. She will need someone strong. She's got me, he said. And who has you? He met her eyes. No one, until maybe tonight. Outside, Titan's winds howled. Inside, for the first time since her exile, Sarai felt something more dangerous than shame. Calm. Before we go further, tell me, where are you watching from? The storm outside never really stopped. It scraped against the colony dome like fingernails across glass, a reminder that Titan didn't care who lived inside it. The sky churned in the shades of burnt orange and rust, its silence broken only by the hum of the reactor deep below. Inside the workshop, Sarai Vorthal woke to the sound of tools clattering and a quiet human curse. The air was heavy with oil, metal, and caffeine. Arlen Wade's perfume of survival. He was bent over a dismantled coolant converter, grease staining his wrist up to the elbow. Do all humans begin their mornings with profanity? She asked softly. Arlen startled, then laughed under his breath. Depends on the kind of night you had. Out here, every sunrise feels like borrowed time. Sarai descended from the loft slowly, the dull light sliding over her scarred scales. Your species romanticizes endurance, she said. You burn until there's nothing left to light. He glanced up at her. You say that like it's a bad thing. It is wasteful, he smiled. It's how we stay alive. For a moment, neither spoke. The tension between them wasn't romantic. It was chemical, forged by fatigue, necessity, and something both of them were too careful to name. From the corner, Nia appeared, rubbing her eyes, hair a tangle of sleep. Dad, the heater's making that clicking sound again. Yeah, I know, Arlen said. Old relay's dying. Sarai stepped forward. The resonance is misaligned. The harmonics will collapse in 40 hours. Arlen blinked. You timed it by sound? I hear differently than you do. Apparently better, he muttered, crouching beside the heater. Guess we're lucky your father's joke can fix what it touches. Sarai's eyes flickered. My father doesn't fix. He replaces. The words hung in the air like a wound exposed. By midday, the colony's corridors were alive with whispers. Word had spread. The Emperor's cast-off princess had saved the oxygen feed. Some said she was brilliant. Others said she was dangerous. In the mess hall, the voices were louder, braver in groups. She thinks she's special, someone said. Walks around like she's doing us a favor. She's royalty, remember? Probably waiting for us to bow. Look at her skin. She looks melted. She's not melted, another sneered. She's spoiled. That's why her father sent her here. At the far table, Arlen set down his tray. His jaw tightened as the laughter rippled. You all done? He said quietly. The room went still. The biggest man at the table, a cargo foreman named Dale Rourke, leaned back with a grin. Easy, Wade. We're just talking. Don't tell me the princess has got her mechanic running defense now. Arlen's voice was calm, too calm. You don't talk about people who keep you breathing. Breathing? Rourke laughed. You think she's some kind of miracle worker? She's a sideshow. Her old man dumped her here to remind us where we stand. Before Arlen could respond, a new voice cut through the room. I stand where I choose, Sarai said. Every head turned. She stood at the doorway, posture straight, expression unreadable. Her silver eyes caught the fluorescent light like a blade's edge. You mistake kindness for weakness, she continued, walking forward slowly. Do you insult me because you fear me, or because you need to feel taller? Rourke chuckled, pushing himself up from the table. I don't fear monsters, princess. I fix their messes. Arlen's hand went to his side, ready to pull him back, but Sarai didn't flinch. She moved closer, voice quiet but lethal. Monsters are born from cruelty, human. Be careful how you feed them. The silence that followed was heavier than any threat. Rourke sat down without another word. Sarai turned and left. The crowd parted like shadows. Arlen followed her out into the corridor. You didn't have to. Yes, she said, cutting him off. I did. He fell into step beside her. You just painted a target on your back. I am used to targets. I wore one my entire life. She stopped suddenly, facing him. Why do you defend me, mechanic? I am not your burden. Because I've seen what happens when people like them win, he said. They stop seeing anything worth fixing. Her gaze softened just slightly. You fix more than machines. Don't spread that around, he said, half smiling. That night, the wind outside rose to a howl. Titan storms battered the dome, shaking metal supports until the lights flickered. The hum of the reactor deepened into something uneven. Arlen was halfway through recalibrating the stabilizer when the power surged. A line of warning icons blinked crimson across the monitor. Not good, he muttered. Sarai appeared behind him, her eyes glowing faintly in the dark. The reactor pulse is shifting frequency. How do you know that? She pointed at the ceiling. I can feel it. He frowned. You feel pressure changes? In my bones, she said simply. We evolved on worlds where storms were predators. Our bodies learned to listen. Arlen grabbed his tools. Then help me listen faster. If that pulse climbs another 5 megahertz, the coolant lines will melt. They worked together in the half-light, hands moving with impossible rhythm. She rerouted conduits through her holographic interface, her movements fluid and precise. Arlen's rougher hands followed her lead, sealing leaks and twisting valves until the stabilizer hissed steady again. When it was done, he leaned against the console, breathless. You saved us. Again. Sarai looked at the readout. You mean we saved us? He laughed. Right. We. The words seemed to mean something new between them. For a moment, the silence wasn't mechanical. It was human. Later, as they sat near the viewport drinking what passed for coffee, Arlen broke it quietly. You could have stayed on your world even if he hated you. Why didn't you? Sarai stared into the storm beyond the glass. Because I reminded him that beauty dies but intellect endures. He couldn't bear that. You think you're ugly, Arlen said. You're not. She looked at him sharply. Then what am I? He set his cup down. Real. And he's terrified of real. Her voice dropped to a whisper. You don't know what it is to be unwanted by the one who created you. Maybe not, he said, but I know what it's like to be forgotten by the world you built. She turned fully toward him then. The air between them felt charged, alive. You speak as if we share the same wounds. Maybe we do. From the loft above, Nia's sleepy voice drifted down. Dad, the storm's too loud. Arlen stood. I'll check the seals. Sarai watched him go, her throat tight with a feeling she didn't recognize. Not pity, not gratitude, something deeper, something forbidden. When he returned, she was still standing by the window, the stormlight outlining her scars in pale gold. Why don't you hide them? He asked. Your people could fix anything, right? She didn't look away from the glass. Because they remind me what survives fire. He nodded slowly. Then don't ever hide them. For a long time they stood like that, two silhouettes framed by a world that wanted neither of them. The storm screamed outside, but inside the workshop, something steadier began to hum. Quiet understanding, dangerous and real. At dawn, the power grids flickered back to full. Across the colony, engineers ran diagnostics, unaware that half their systems had been kept alive by a woman their empire called broken. Arlen sipped his morning coffee, watching her trace her fingers across a schematic. You know, he said, you could run this place if you wanted. I have no wish to rule, Sarai said. Power corrupts faster than beauty fades. He smiled faintly. That's the smartest thing anyone said on Titan. Her eyes met his. You think this moon is cursed? No, he said. I think it's honest. It shows every scar and keeps breathing anyway. She studied him for a long moment, then said softly, perhaps that is why I was sent here, to learn how to breathe. He didn't answer. He didn't need to. Outside, the orange horizon brightened with the faintest trace of reflected sunlight. Inside, two broken people who'd been sent to opposite ends of Worth began to rebuild something neither Empire nor Storm could destroy. He looked at her, eyes tired. And maybe I built it so I'd have something left to fix. The room went still. Only the hum of the workshop filled the air. Steady as a heartbeat, neither of them wanted to admit they shared. Sarai's voice came quieter than before. Then you and I are alike. How? We build things to prove we still can. She ran her fingers along a dented pipe, her reflection warped in the metal. When you're unwanted, creation becomes the only way to exist, Arlen set his wrench down. You're not unwanted here. Her eyes lifted to meet his. Then why does everyone look at me like I'm a weapon about to break loose? Your people look at me the way mine looked at you, like I shouldn't exist. People fear what reminds them of themselves, he said. We're all a little broken, and you make them feel small. Her jaw tightened. I don't mean to. Doesn't matter, he said. Truth always scares people. She looked at him for a long time, as if the words had touched something she'd buried under armor. Then she said softly, you talk like a poet for a man who smells like coolant. And you talk like someone who's never been listened to. That made her laugh. A real sound this time. Sharp, breathless, beautiful. The kind of laugh that didn't belong on a dying moon. The next shift began under heavy skies, the kind that made every breath feel borrowed. The next morning brought heat where there should have been calm. The refinery pumps screamed against rising pressure. Arlen was halfway through his coffee when the red lights began to flash. Alert. Atmospheric breach detected. Sector 5. He dropped the mug, grabbed his mask, and bolted for the lower decks. Sarai was already there. Her movements fast, fluid, precise. She didn't need direction. She read the chaos like music. Pipes burst overhead. Steam blinded half the crew. Someone screamed. Arlen pushed through smoke, shouting orders. "Seal the line! Shut down the compressors!" Rourke stumbled out of the haze, his arm burned raw. "The controls aren't responding. We're locked out." "Manual override?" Arlen barked. "Offline." Sarai stepped forward, eyes glowing faint silver through the mist. "Not offline," she said. "Sabotaged." Arlen turned to her. "How do you know?" "The energy pattern is inverted. Someone reversed the failsafes." She moved before he could stop her, climbing the rail toward the upper junctions. "Sarai, wait." She ignored him. Her claws cut through the insulation casing. Sparks lit the air, painting her in brief flashes of gold and blood red. "Rerouting thermal conduit," she shouted. "On my mark. Pull the secondary valve." Arlen reached for the lever. "Now!" The ground shuddered as pressure equalized. The alarms cut off one by one. Silence rolled through the deck, broken only by the hiss of cooling pipes. Rourke coughed, half collapsed. She did it again." Arlen helped him up. "No," he said, glancing at Sarai as she dropped lightly from the catwalk. "We did." But even as he said it, he knew the truth. Without her, half the colony would be dead. Later in the medical bay, Rourke lay on a cot, arm bandaged. He looked up when Sarai entered. The other workers watched from the corners of their eyes, whispering. He swallowed hard. "I said some things before." "Yes," she said flatly. "I was wrong." She tilted her head. "You were ignorant." He blinked. "That's fair." She turned to go, then paused. "Ignorance can be cured. Cruelty cannot. Decide which you prefer to live with." When she left, the whole room stayed quiet. No one laughed this time. That evening, Arlen found her sitting alone near the glass dome, looking out at the storms beyond. Methane rain slid down in thick ribbons, turning the world outside into a living painting of fire and glass. "You were right," he said, sitting beside her. "Someone's tampering with the refinery systems." "Rel," she said immediately. He frowned. "You're sure?" "He would call it testing loyalty. He enjoys forcing failure." Arlen rubbed his face. "Then tomorrow's inspection isn't an audit. It's a setup." "Yes." He leaned back against the glass, exhaustion lining his voice. "What does he want?" "My humiliation," she said quietly. "And your destruction." He turned to her. "Then we make him choke on both." Her eyes met his. For a moment the stormlight reflected in them. Cold, brilliant, defiant. "You would risk your colony for me?" "I'd risk it for the truth." She looked away. "Humans are reckless." "Maybe," he said, "but we don't leave our own behind." Her breath caught at that. A simple sentence, yet it landed like a pulse through her chest. "We don't leave our own behind." She'd never heard those words in her life. Night fell heavy and long. The inspection was hours away. Arlen couldn't sleep. He found her still awake, standing beside the reactor's humming core, light spilling over her scars like molten silver. "You're afraid," he said. "Of him?" she asked. "Of what he'll make you remember." Her silence was answer enough. He walked closer. "What did he do to you?" She exhaled slowly. The sound trembled. "When I was 12, my father ordered a purity test. Rel conducted it. They called it purification fire." Arlen's hands clenched. "Jesus!" "It was supposed to burn weakness away." Her voice was steady, but her eyes weren't. It burned through everything else instead. "Why would he let that happen?" "Because I screamed too loud, and he didn't like the sound." The silence after that was unbearable. Arlen wanted to speak, but there were no words left that didn't feel useless. So he reached out. His hand brushed the side of her arm, the heat of her skin thrumming faintly under his palm. "No one gets to do that to you again." For a heartbeat, she didn't move. Then softly, "And what will you do, mechanic? Fix me?" He shook his head. "No, just make sure you don't have to fix yourself alone." She stared at him, eyes wet with something that could have been grief, or gratitude, or both. Then she said, "Be careful what you promise. Humans die too easily." Then I'll die doing something that matters. Her breath shivered out in a whisper. You already are. When morning came, the colony gathered in, the central hall for Rel's arrival. The air felt colder, tighter, waiting for a storm of another kind. Arlen stood by the generator console, grease on his hands, fury in his eyes. Sarai stood beside him, shoulders squared, gaze unyielding. The docking gates opened. A sleek black shuttle descended through the mist, and stepping out, tall, elegant, fanged smile gleaming, came Ambassador Rel. Ah, he said, voice smooth as polished steel. The Emperor's gift still lives, and her pet mechanic too. Arlen's jaw flexed. Sarai didn't move. Rel's golden eyes slid across the workers. Shall we begin the inspection? I am eager to see how the humans treat royal refuse. Sarai's voice cut through the tension. Calm, cold, dangerous. Careful, Ambassador. Trash has a way of burning when you stand too close. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Arlen almost smiled. Rel's smile didn't falter, but his eyes narrowed. Oh, princess, still sharp after all this time. We'll see if that wit survives a little pressure. He turned toward the control deck. Let us test how strong your colony really is. And as the lights flickered overhead, Arlen felt it in his bones. Something was about to break. The inspection began like a ceremony. Slow, deliberate, suffocating. Every move Rel made felt rehearsed, like a predator circling a wounded thing just to see how long it could crawl. He stood in the control deck center, hands clasped behind his back, voice smooth and venomous. Impressive, he said, scanning the monitors, for a colony held together by human superstition and duct tape. No one laughed. No one breathed. He turned to Sarai. And you, princess, still playing engineer? Still pretending that exile made you clever? Sarai met his gaze. Her silver eyes were cold. Pretending requires approval. I have none left to seek. Rel's smile curved like a blade. Still insolent, still broken. He turned toward Arlen. You've grown comfortable with your pet, human. Arlen's jaw locked. She's not my pet. Oh, my mistake, Rel said. You think you're equals? How charming. He gestured toward the reactor display. Then prove it. You will oversee a diagnostic together. A simple test of competence. Sarai stiffened. Your tests are never simple. Rel ignored her. This colony depends on a single atmospheric stabilizer. If it were to fail, he smiled wider. You would all die within 6 minutes. Let's see if your mechanic can keep you breathing. The workers shifted uneasily. Rourke muttered, He's bluffing. Sarai's crest flickered pale. No, he's baiting. Rel activated the console with a flick of his clawed hand. Red lines filled the monitors. System diagnostics, code strings, endless scrolling warnings. Find the failure, he said. Correct it. You have 1 hour. The doors sealed with a hiss. Arlen moved fast. We've got cascading faults in the pressure sensors. He's rerouting commands through phantom protocols. Sarai's voice cut in, low and focused. He built false redundancies. They'll collapse if we chase them. Then what do? We ignore the illusion and fix the heartbeat. She stepped closer, her hands flying across the hollow interface. The air filled with soft tones as she typed, each note forming a strange alien rhythm. Arlen worked beside her, his sweat dripping into the open circuitry. He's watching us, he whispered. I know. Then what's the play? Her eyes glinted like quicksilver. We win before he knows what the game is. Rel leaned against the console, watching them with lazy amusement. You've got 40 minutes, little mechanic. Make your empire proud. Arlen didn't look up. Not my empire. Of course not, Rel said. Yours fell centuries ago. Sarai's claws tightened around the edge of the console. And yet, she said, his dying world still breathes cleaner air than yours. Rel's smile froze. Careful, princess. Insolence was what got your mother executed. The room went silent. Arlen turned sharply. You shut your mouth. Rel chuckled. Ah, the human defends her honor. How romantic. Romantic? Sarai's voice trembled, not with fear but fury. My mother burned because she bore imperfection. You lit the pyre. Rel stepped closer, eyes gleaming. I obeyed my emperor. As I will again. Arlen's hand twitched toward his wrench. You take one more step, I swear. Arlen. Sarai's voice stopped him cold. He wants the reaction. Her gaze locked on Rel's. And he'll get nothing but the sound of his own silence. 30 minutes left. Arlen tore open a junction box. We've got power bleed through the auxiliary core. Pressure's dropping. By how much? Enough to make me nervous. Good. Nervous keeps you alive. She moved beside him, her voice dropping lower. There's a deeper fault. Rel's trying to rewrite our safety limiters in real time. If he succeeds, the reactor will implode. Arlen's mind raced. We isolate his command stream. You can't out-hack an Imperial AI. She smiled faintly. I can. I designed it. Arlen froze. You what? I was 12, she said, fingers flying over the interface. They called it obedience training. They made me code the same system that burned me. His stomach twisted. Sarai! Don't, she said sharply. Don't pity me. I want him to watch it turn against him. The lights flickered. The floor trembled. Rel frowned. What are you doing? Sarai looked up, calm and deadly. Ending the lesson you started. She hit the final sequence. The red alarms vanished, replaced by steady blue pulses across every screen. The colony's system stabilized instantly. Rel stared at the monitors. Impossible. Not impossible, Sarai said. Just poetic. Arlen exhaled hard, chest heaving. It's over. No, Sarai said softly. Now he'll retaliate. Rel clapped slowly. Clever. You've learned tricks. But let's see how you handle truth. He raised his communicator, and the holographic seal of the Draconian Empire flickered to life. Transmission to Emperor Vorthal, Rel announced. Your daughter's little performance has been enlightening. Sarai's blood ran cold. End that transmission. Rel ignored her. The Emperor's towering figure appeared in spectral light, regal and cold. Report, the Emperor said. His voice carried the weight of law. Rel bowed. Your daughter has grown arrogant in exile. She has aligned with a human mechanic. I suspect contamination. The Emperor's gaze turned toward Sarai. Is it true? Her throat tightened. It's true that I found what you never could. Purpose. The Emperor's eyes narrowed. You speak as if you matter. I do now. Then you have forgotten your place. Perhaps, she said, but at least I have one. Rel smirked. Shall I return her to you, Majesty? Or leave her to die with her companions? The Emperor's answer came cold and final. Let her burn with them. The hologram vanished. The alarm screamed again. Real this time. Rel's override command spread through the system like fire. Every safety wall collapsed. Atmospheric compression dropping, Arlen shouted. He's venting us into vacuum. Rourke's voice blared over the comms. We're losing pressure in all sectors. Sarai sprinted to the main console. He's forcing a reactor surge. If we don't stop it, the dome will implode. Arlen grabbed his tools. Tell me what to do. Manual override, level 3 conduit. On it! Rel's laughter filled the chamber. You'll die fixing this rust heap. Maybe that's mercy. Sarai whirled. You'll die remembering who made you bleed. She lunged at the panel, slamming her hands into the interface. Sparks exploded across her arms. The energy pulse flared white-hot, cutting through the floor. Arlen fought through the smoke. Sarai, you'll fry yourself. She didn't stop. If I don't, we all die. The reactor howled beneath them, a sound like the planet itself groaning. She screamed, part pain, part defiance, and the console burst in a flash of blue light. Then silence. The alarms went dead. The lights dimmed. The air steadied. Rel stumbled back, eyes wide. You failed, she said, panting. As always. Her knees buckled. Arlen caught her before she hit the ground. Her skin was hot to the touch, scales faintly smoking. You did it, he whispered. She looked up weakly. No, we did. Behind them, the colony's lights returned, one by one, beacons rising through the dark. Rel's voice broke through the static. You've won nothing. The Emperor will erase this place. Arlen looked up, fire in his eyes. Then he'll have to go through me first. Sarai's head rested against his chest, her breath shallow. He'll be back, she murmured. I know. They'll come for me. Then they'll find out what a janitor can do. Outside, Titan's storms raged on, violent, endless, honest. But inside, a single human and a discarded princess had already changed the balance of an empire. Titan was quiet for the first time in months. The storm had broken, the clouds thinned. But the silence that followed wasn't peace, it was waiting. The colony still stood, barely. Its air smelled of scorched metal and adrenaline. Engineers moved like ghosts, patching damage they couldn't name. The people whispered one word through the corridors: war. And beneath the reactor dome, where light bled through cracked glass, Arlen Wade watched over the alien who just saved them all. Sarai lay on a medical cot, her breath shallow, her skin darkened by heat scars that glowed faintly along her neck and collarbones. Every few seconds, her pulse flared like the hum of an old engine struggling to start again. Nia sat beside her, clutching Sarai's hand. Dad, she's burning. Arlen touched her forehead gently. She's fighting it, just like before. He'd seen people die in silence before, engineers who drowned in vacuum or burned under power surges. But Sarai wasn't dying quietly. The monitors flickered with every breath, as if the machines themselves refused to let go. When her eyes opened, the light inside them was dimmer, but alive. You should have let me fall, she whispered. Not happening, Arlen said. You saved everyone. Her lips curved faintly. Not everyone. The Empire will come. He never leaves loose ends. Arlen leaned closer. Then let him come. Sarai's gaze steadied on him. You can't fight an empire with a wrench. I've fought worse with less. For a moment, she almost smiled. You humans, you never stop believing you can change the sky. He brushed a strand of hair from her face. Someone has to. Hours later, the storm returned, not from Titan, but from the sky itself. The first draconian warship broke through orbit, its shadow stretching across the colony like a wound. The ground vibrated under the sound of engines older than humanity's history. Governor Keene burst into the workshop, face pale. They're here. The Empire's fleet, 2 cruisers and a command ship. They're demanding entry. Arlen stood. Rel? Keene swallowed. Dead. His transmission cut off an hour ago. Someone hires in charge now. Sarai sat up weakly. My father. The word hung in the air like a curse. Keene stammered. He's broadcasting a message. A column of light split the room, and a holographic figure filled it. Tall, regal, scales black as obsidian. The Emperor's voice rolled like thunder. People of New Cart, he began, you harbor stolen blood. My daughter has defied her heritage, tainted it with yours. Return her to me, and I will let your colony live. Refuse, and you will vanish from the stars. His eyes turned toward Sarai, cold and brilliant. You've forgotten what you are. She rose to her feet, trembling but steady. No, father, I remembered. His voice sharpened. You speak rebellion. I speak truth, she said. You sent me to be humiliated. I found purpose instead. Arlen stepped beside her. You're not taking her. The Emperor's gaze turned on him. A human mechanic. You think yourself worthy to speak? Not worthy, Arlen said. Just done being silent. The Emperor's eyes flared. Then you will burn beside her. The hologram vanished. Outside, the air roared. Within minutes, the bombardment began. Blue-white energy bolts struck the surface, tearing through the outer mining sectors. The dome shuddered. Panels buckled. Arlen shouted over the noise. Power grids collapsing. If the next volley hits the reactor... I know, Sarai said. She gripped the railing, her scars flickering like molten light. We can't fight their weapons, but we can blind them. He turned to her. How? The atmospheric stabilizer. If we invert the field frequency, the ionized gases will reflect their sensors. You're talking about turning Titan's storms into a mirror. Yes, a storm shield. Arlen stared at her. That could fry every circuit in the colony. Then we'll rebuild. He looked at her, burned, trembling, defiant, and felt something in him crack open. If this kills us, she stepped closer, her hand finding his, then we die fixing what they broke. The two of them worked without speaking. Sarai's hands moved across the control panels, weaving alien code through human systems. Sparks rained, circuits screamed. Arlen crawled through vents, rerouting power lines by hand. The hum of the stabilizer deepened into a growl that made the walls tremble. Naya's voice echoed from above. "Dad, they're locking on again!" "Just a few more seconds, baby!" Sarai's eyes blazed. "Now!" Arlen slammed the final lever. The dome exploded with light, pure white, rippling across the horizon. Titan's atmosphere ignited in a shimmering storm. Energy bolts from the warship struck it and refracted back. Scattering, diffused, harmless. On the surface, humans stared upward as the entire sky became a living aurora, blazing gold and violet, storm and fire dancing together. Inside the control deck, Sarai swayed. "It worked." Arlen caught her before she fell. "You did it again." Her voice was barely a whisper. "We did." Above, the Draconian fleet hesitated. They could no longer see their target through the interference. Then a transmission broke through. The Emperor's voice, sharp and furious. "Enough! Prepare to strike manually. I will end this myself." Sarai looked up weakly. "He's coming." Arlen tightened his grip on her hand. "Then he's walking into a storm we built together." Hours later, the Emperor's shuttle descended. Its thrusters tore through the cloud layer, boiling the air into ribbons of fire. He emerged alone, draped in ceremonial armor, every scale like polished obsidian. Around him, the colony guards froze. His presence was gravity itself. Sarai stood waiting. No armor, no crown, only her scars glowing faintly in the stormlight. He stopped a few feet away. "My daughter," he said, "you've brought shame across 7 worlds." "Then let the shame speak for itself," she answered. He studied her, eyes narrowing. "You look stronger than when I sent you away." "I am," she said, "because someone saw worth where you saw waste." His gaze shifted to Arlen. "This one?" "Yes," she said. "This one." "A mechanic," he spat. "A creature built to serve?" Arlen met his stare. "Funny. That's what they said about you once." The Emperor's lips curled. "You dare." "I fix what's broken," Arlen said, "including lies." Sarai stepped between them. "You don't scare me anymore, Father." He moved faster than light. His hands snapped out, claws at her throat, then froze. Her own hand was there first, gripping his wrist with inhuman strength. Her voice was steel. "You wanted a daughter of power? You made her." The storm outside roared louder, responding to the tension between them. Dust and light swirled around the two figures, reflections of lightning glinting on their faces. The Emperor's voice broke into a snarl. "You think this mechanic makes you strong?" "No," she said softly. "He made me seen." For the first time, the Emperor faltered. His claws shook. The air seemed to fold around the three of them. Arlen stepped closer, his voice low but unyielding. "You sent her here as a joke, but she became the one thing your empire fears most." The Emperor's eyes flicked to him. "And what is that?" "A mind that can't be owned." Lightning cracked across the dome. The Emperor turned away, his cape whipping behind him. "Then both of you will be erased." Sarai's voice followed him, quiet, certain. "You can't erase what's already survived fire." The storm answered her, flaring white against the glass. He paused, staring into the chaos outside, the world he couldn't control. For the first time, his reflection in the glass didn't look like a god. It looked like a shadow fading. Without another word, he turned and boarded his ship. The engines screamed, and then just like that, the Emperor was gone. The storm fell quiet again. Sarai exhaled slowly. "He'll return." Arlen nodded. "Then we'll be ready." She looked at him for a long moment. "You're not afraid of dying." "For this, are you?" He smiled faintly. "No, but I'm terrified of what happens if we stop fighting." Her voice softened. "Then we don't stop." Outside, the storm began to glow again. No longer a weapon, but a shield, a promise. And for the first time since the Empire cast her out, Sarai felt something she'd never known before. The sky above Titan burned with reflected fire. The Emperor's fleet had returned, larger, darker, merciless. 9 warships cut through the methane clouds, their thrusters igniting the horizon like a second sun. Newkarth's sirens wailed across the domes. Children were pulled underground. Engineers scrambled to reinforce walls that couldn't withstand a single orbital strike. The Empire had come to finish the joke it started. Arlen Wade stood in the control room, grease still on his hands, exhaustion carved into his face. Sarai stood beside him, pale but unbroken, the glow beneath her skin steady and alive. Outside, the storm shield pulsed weakly, brilliant but dying. "They're charging weapons," said Governor Keene, his voice trembling. "We don't have enough power to hold the field another hour." Arlen looked at Sarai. "Then we make it the last hour they ever get." Some part of him already knew he wouldn't see another sunrise, but there were worse ways to go than fighting for what fixed you. In orbit, the Emperor watched from the command deck of his flagship, his expression carved in cold hatred. "Destroy the colony," he ordered. The gunnery officers hesitated. "Your Majesty, our targeting sensors—" "Fire blind," he hissed. "I want their dust scattered across this world." The first strike lit up the sky. The ground shook. A tremor rippled through every structure in New Karth. Walls buckled, pipes screamed, and for a moment, even the storm itself seemed to stop breathing. Sarai staggered, gripping the railing. "The stabilizer won't hold another hit." Arlen's knuckles whitened around the control lever. "Then we take the fight to them." "Arlen, that's suicide." He looked at her, a half-smile under the flickering light. "You saved my world. Let me save yours." Her voice broke. "You are my world." For a second, the chaos disappeared. There was only them, two people the universe had discarded, now standing between extinction and mercy. He turned to the engineers. "Power up the auxiliary cores. Reroute the stabilizer to manual." Keene shook his head. "That'll overload the entire grid." "Exactly," Arlen said. "It'll send a pulse straight through the atmosphere. Every ionized particle, every scrap of energy we've got left. When their cannons fire again, it'll backfire through their own targeting beams." Sarai stared at him. "You're going to turn their weapons against them." He nodded. "Using their arrogance as fuel." She caught his wrist. "You won't survive that surge." "Didn't plan to." Her voice cracked. "Then don't make me lose you just to win this." He touched her face, his fingers gentle even as the world shook. "You gave me back my purpose, Sarai. Let me give you something too. Freedom." Her tears glowed faintly as they fell. "Then I'll finish it with you." They descended to the reactor core together. The chamber throbbed with power, massive conduits of light, humming with barely contained fury. The pulse field that surrounded it shimmered like a heartbeat of lightning. Arlen ripped open the safety locks. "Once we start this, there's no stopping it." Sarai nodded. "Then don't stop." She placed her hands on the control column. The burns from before flared again, her scars igniting in the same rhythm as the core. Arlen took the second panel. "On my mark," he said. "Together," she replied. "Now!" The core screamed to life. Energy cascaded through the colony, flooding every conduit, every line. The ground shuddered. Power flared up through the storm layer, rising like a halo around the domes. Above them, the Emperor's fleet locked onto the surge, mistaking it for weakness. "Now," he ordered. "End it." The ships fired. But instead of annihilation, the beams struck the ionized field and bent, folding, twisting, reversing. The energy turned back on its source. In a single flash of white fire, the Empire's fleet ignited. The flagship erupted first, exploding in a chain of silent golden implosions that lit Titan's atmosphere like dawn. The blast spread outward, swallowing ship after ship until only burning debris remained, raining into the storm below. Inside the control chamber, the overload hit. Arlen's body jolted. Sparks burst from his console. The surge tore through the systems, flooding the air with ozone and light. Sarai screamed his name, lunging forward, grabbing his hands before he could collapse. "Stay with me." He managed a weak laugh. "Told you. I fixed things." "You fixed me," she whispered. The power faded. The storm quieted. The sky outside turned gold, and then still. Hours later, the survivors gathered outside the damaged dome. The horizon was clear for the first time in memory. Titan's light broke through thin clouds, washing the colony in amber warmth. Governor Keene's voice shook. "The fleet's gone. Every single one. It's over." Rourke stared up at the glowing sky. "He did it! The mechanic did it!" Sarai stepped forward, her cloak trailing in the dust. "They did it!" Her gaze lifted to the heavens, where the wreckage of the Empire drifted like dying stars. Nia ran to her, clutching her leg. "Where's my dad?" Sarai knelt slowly, tears burning in her eyes. "He's still here, Nia. Every breath this world takes is him." The girl threw her arms around her, and for the first time Sarai let herself break. She cried, not for loss, but for something the Empire could never understand. For love, for redemption. Weeks passed. The colony rebuilt, stronger than before. Titan bloomed again. A storm world turned sanctuary. The people whispered stories of the mechanic who faced an empire with nothing but a wrench, a storm, and a princess the universe called ugly. Sarai became their leader, not by title but by choice. She rebuilt the systems with Arlen's designs, and at the center of the colony, she placed a monument made from melted draconian alloy. It was shaped like a wrench, simple and human, etched with the words he once said to her, "Broken things are just honest ones." Every night she visited that place. She would touch the cold metal and whisper softly, "You won." Far across the void, the Draconian Empire trembled. Without its fleet, without its emperor, whose ship had fallen into Titan's storm, their dominion fractured. Colonies rebelled. Voices long silenced began to rise. Whispers spread across the stars about the one who defied perfection, the one who turned shame into salvation. They called her the Princess of Scars. Some called her the flame that taught empires to bleed. And every time someone asked her how it began, she would answer the same. "They sent me as a joke, but I met a man who fixed jokes into legends." Years later, Titan storms finally cleared for good. The sky above New Karth turned soft blue. The children of both species played under its light, free of masks, free of fear. At the edge of the colony, Sarai stood alone, looking toward the horizon. Her scars shimmered faintly in the sunlight, her reflection caught in the glass dome that once kept her prisoner. She whispered, "You were right, Arlen. Real things survive." Behind her, Nia's voice rang out, laughter carrying through the wind. "Mom, they're asking you to tell the story again." Sarai smiled, tears catching in her lashes. "Then let them listen." She turned back toward the crowd, humans and draconians standing together, faces lit by the golden stormlight. "This is what he built," she said, "and no empire will ever tear it down." As the camera of history panned out, Titan glowed beneath Saturn's shadow, no longer a colony, but a symbol. A scar turned into light, a mechanic turned into myth, and a daughter the galaxy once mocked now ruled a peace her father could never imagine. Because in the end, the cruelest joke the Emperor ever told had become the story that ended his empire.